A team of destiny? Welcome into the voice of college football. What did we just witness in Happy Valley? Stunning. It was almost stunning on the opposite side, but it turned out to be a stunning Indiana revival in the final 2 minutes of play. Welcome into the voice of college football. We appreciate you stopping by for the best in discussion, debate, and analysis. We appreciate you being here. Indiana pulls it out 27-24. And I hate to be a downer in regards to the dramatics here, but Penn State, they had this coming. They should have been able to prevent this. The way they coached, the way they played, the way they game planned, and the way they called plays late in the game set this up and gave Indiana the opportunity. But let's not squelch what the Hoosiers pulled off here, because it was truly not miraculous to watch. We get a little bit, I saw and heard the comments made, this is miraculous, this is unbelievable. Well, it's not any of those things. They did have 2 minutes to drive down the field. It was exciting. It was a heck of a football scene. It was a heck of a football game and a heck of an effort by Penn State. But Indiana's 10-0, and let's get to what happened in the final few minutes of the game to make it all possible. And we break down the nuts and the bolts and the situations here, but this is, in a sense, more about the Indiana season, where it's going, where it's been, where the program has come from to be able to accomplish things like this and be an actual 2-touchdown favorite on the road at a place like Penn State. It's just pretty remarkable what Curt Cignetti and his staff and his players have pulled off. And Penn State, yes, I do say this from the standpoint of the way they approached the game in the final 3 to 4 minutes, kind of handed it to Indiana, but they did not, from a player standpoint, did not hand the game to Indiana. They played their tails off, and Indiana took it from them by making outstanding plays in the passing game. But let's get to the final few minutes of play. So the last two drives that Penn State had the football, they were protecting a 4-point lead. They took a 4-point lead, 26-20, 24-20 with 6:27 left after Ethan Gruckenmeyer hit the touchdown pass to Nicholas Singleton. 24-20 Penn State. They'd come back all the way from down 20-7, scoring 17 consecutive points. They got the Dennis Sutton sack. And you got a feel for these Penn State players. And tonight, Dennis Sutton would be one of these guys that had all the hopes of claiming big things for Penn State this season. He came back. He could have gone to the NFL draft. And I was going to say take a paycheck, but take a larger paycheck probably in the NFL. But he came back to college football, as did the rest of the most of the Penn State stars, to try to win a championship. And we know that it's gone off the rails with 6 consecutive losses. So I see Dennis Sutton, go into his celebratory stance after the sack that forced Indiana to punt with about 5.5 minutes left to play. And I thought, okay, they got one more go here, because Penn State is certainly not going to hang on to the football for 5 minutes. And I know it's a difficult decision here, because you've got, on one hand, time on your side, the score on your side, and to a certain extent, field position on your side. So through the annals of football history, it has been the coach's default to run the football, just seemingly run the football, because if you pass the football, you obviously can have a greater propensity to turn it over. You can also stop the clock, and those are not smart things to do. You want to squeeze the game down. However, you also play into the hands of the Indiana offense getting the ball back with good field position and with a chance to win, and with plenty of time, even though the Hoosiers exhausted their 3 timeouts. So, and Penn State does not have the passing attack, nor the playmakers, nor the consistency at quarterback in Gruckenmeyer to really trust. So I understand the way Terry Smith played it, but in the aftermath, the only issue I had was the 3rd and 10 play call. So they run it, and they almost exclusively gave it to Katron Allen because he is the workhorse and he's the heavy back between he and Singleton to push the pile, to get the extra yardage, and to lean on the Indiana defense to hopefully squeeze out a couple first downs, which they did after they stopped Indiana on the Denai Dennis Sutton sack. So Indiana calls its last time out at 2:09, and then the 3rd and 10 play. I thought that Andy Kotelicki would get maybe a little creative, not do anything crazy, but do something creative. I thought if they just run the football, or if they run, what they ended up running was a bootleg to the tight end. They don't have the type player that's receiving this football right around the line of scrimmage, maybe 2 yards past the line of scrimmage, to be able to get the 10 yards needed for the 3rd down conversion to a first down. Get creative. This is what you're paid to do. You are one of the top paid offensive coordinators in college football. You need to come up with something that can squeeze out 10 yards or give your team a reasonable shot to do so. That was a pathetic play call. I could have called that play. You could have called that play. It was a give-up play, and it was basically to say, let the defense try to win the game here. And I know 3rd and 10 is difficult to convert, but they could have called safe passing plays before that were 80+% certainty to complete, not talking about throwing the ball downfield, to keep the football. You've lost 5 consecutive games. You've lost 5 consecutive games. You cannot win anything in the Big Ten. Your coach got fired a few weeks ago. You can pull off a major upset here. You can send out these seniors with one magical moment. And I know you want to squeeze the clock dry, but you basically set up Indiana to win the game. I do not fault the Penn State players. I do fault Darius Smith and the approach of the offensive coordinator in that situation. Too conservative, too scared. And maybe that's why you're Penn State. Too conservative, too scared. And I know you're taking a risk there and then taking the criticism that, why didn't you run the ball? You threw an incompletion. It stopped the clock. But winners and champions, or at least in this moment, a winner or a champion of the day, takes a bit of a risk and executes. So they hand Indiana the football at the 20-yard line. Good job by the Penn State punter. Kicked a 64-yard punt. And the Indiana punt returner did a nice job of duping the coverage unit that didn't get downfield to down the football. And that proved to be huge because, of course, Indiana drove it 80 yards for the game-winning touchdown. They could have had to drive it 95 yards. And Penn State gets the first sack. And this is another thing, and I understand these kids are 18, 19, 20 years old. They get excited, but just because you pulled off a sack on first down doesn't mean you won the game. And these guys are celebrating behind the line of scrimmage in Fernando Mendoza's lap for it wasn't like a quick, hey, I'm pumped up because I just got a sack. It was 15, 20 seconds of this crap. Be a competitor, finish the mission. That drives me nuts. You can see the Indiana players lining up. You can see the officials, the whole thing, and have half a brain. Know what the moment is. Make the play. It's only one play. Great play, but you're not the king of the world. Great play. Get your freaking ass back behind the line of scrimmage and set up for the next play. And again, I hate to get on 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds. I don't remember who made the sack. He might be a senior. He might be a freshman. But better coaching, better something. This is what losers do. This is what losers do. Okay, let's turn to the winning side. I didn't think I was going to go off on Penn State. Let's get to the winners here because they were remarkable. Now, Kurt Cignetti after the game went a little crazy in terms of we had the ball at the back at the 1 yard line. You never had the ball at the 1 yard line. The punt took you to the 20. You had a 6 yard sack. You were the 14 yard line. He said, we were back at the 1 yard line. We had to go all the way And he said something else about, yeah, it was like 2nd and 30. No, it was like 2nd and 14. Calm down, buddy. It was like 2nd and 14. All right. So anyway, he's a I say this in a kind way. He's kind of a clown. He's an interesting dichotomy with he's kind of a clown, but he's a serious dude at the same time. He's a bit mixture. He's like an awkward clown, stern, tough guy, bully. He's all those things put together, and makes it fascinating. I got to say, I was blowing by the end of the first half into the second half on my whatever you call it. It's not a DVR, and I went back to watch Curt Cignetti make a couple comments about how they were playing at halftime. And I don't normally do that because it's usually dry and boring and stupid from the head coach, and it's typical college football television at halftime. But I did listen to Coach Curt Cignetti. Okay, back to Francisco Mendoza. He may have won the Heisman here, maybe. He was phenomenal. You know, he's delivering downfield. The offensive line was beat up. Earlier in the game, Khalil Benson, one of Indiana's best offensive line, limped off the field. And Indiana has issues along the offensive line from a health standpoint, especially at the guard position. Already coming into this game, Zen Mahovsky came in. He got beaten a few times, or more than a few times. And so Indiana may have some issues there. But as Cignetti rightfully said after the game, and I give him a lot of credit for this, he said, we're banged up, we're beat up, but hey, everybody in America is. Correct, sir, correct, to different degrees. So Mendoza just shows that he's Joe Cool and leads Indiana down the field. And the two final catches here, had it not been for Omar Cooper at the end of the game, we would be remembering Charlie Becker as the play of the game, because the toe tap at the 5-yard line to haul in that pass was a remarkable catch. Mendoza threw it just about where he had to because the coverage was so tight, but Becker made a better catch. And I think it's exceptional that these wide receivers in recent years, this has been added to the repertoire of wide receiver progression, as we've seen the passing game take off and become just this finely tuned work of art, where these pass receivers, as a longtime football viewer, you are trained, at least I am, to watch the outside foot to see if they get the foot in. But they generally, when needed, even if they get pushed or there's contact with the DB, are able to get the other toe in, and you're focused on the other foot, the one that would traditionally be the one that you would tap, but they get the other one in before, and you're thinking, okay, well, that foot's out of bounds. No, it's not. It's that far off the grass, and then they got the other tap down. So Becker makes a remarkable catch. Penn State, okay, finally, they come with the kitchen sink, and they they were so close to winning this game. They got the deflection out into the flat, and then they had the play in which I did not take down who that was, but blitzed off the edge and threw Mendoza to the turf as he was releasing the ball. And this is, I said at the beginning, team of destiny, this is sometimes how close this is. If that ball flutters up in the air in a different direction, Penn State catches it, and it's game over. Penn State wins. But it fell harmlessly, and then Omar Cooper wrote his name in the Indiana record books into college football history with his toe tap at the back of the end zone. I'm not going to try to recant what he was able to do. Remarkable catch by Omar Cooper. Keep in mind that Chassarat, Indiana's leading receiver, missed the game again. Don't know what his prognosis is going forward. So Indiana wins it. They're remarkable. Cignetti after the game was virtually in tears. Just exceptional job by this guy. I don't know that we've seen anything like it in the history of college football. We would have to go back through. We've seen slow rises to power at Virginia Tech and Kansas State with Bill Snyder and Frank Beamer turning things around over a course of time. But to walk on campus and boom, just 11-1. And then this season, the team's even, they're so much better than that team last year. I almost picked Penn State to win this game outright. So all sorts of people, I was checking Twitter near the end of the game, were shocked, and I get it. It's only a 2-touchdown spread. And I said this after James Franklin was fired and really after Penn State was knocked out of it, which was about the same time. After that third consecutive loss, I guess he lost, 3 straight games, that this is the biggest wild card team in college football. They have one of the most talented teams in college football, but they've got nothing to play for, and now they don't have a head coach. They're one of the biggest wild cards, and they showed it in this game. Give Penn State so much credit. They were down 20-7, and really they were playing even with Indiana. They were playing practically even, but they had the Katron Allen fumble that set up Indiana on a short field, and that was a touchdown. Just a lot of things did not work out well for Penn State early in this game to go down by a couple scores. I'll go back through my notes here. Of course, Indiana had not defeated Penn State since 1993. They showed that game highlights, and it was inaccurately called an upset. But anyway, Penn State led the series 25-2. They had never lost to Indiana in Happy Valley. Kind of ironic. Indiana's number 2 right now. Penn State was preseason number 2. And the last time Penn State defeated a top 5 ranked team was Ohio State, number 2 Buckeyes in 2016. That, of course, led Penn State to the Big Ten championship in the Rose Bowl. Yes, James Franklin did win big games. Not many, just a few, but he won big games. So when you get to a Big Ten championship game, you win the Big Ten championship and you defeat Ohio State on the way. You won big games. We're not going to drudge up history, but I get sick of hearing that. This Penn State wide receiver core, I don't know what it is. I guess it doesn't matter who plays there. Trevor Pena had a fine season at Syracuse, but I was noticing on consecutive plays in the first quarter, and Pena had a nice game, 6 catches, 99 yards in regards to the box score, but he dropped a pass. Then Devontae Ross dropped a pass, and I texted my friend and I said, you and I would catch those throws 90% of the time. Seriously. They were like little 8-yard shots. So when James Franklin left, he obviously did not take the Penn State wide receiver play with him. That's a constant, I guess. It's kind of like Scott Frost leaving the 1-score losses to Matt Rule, because as Joel Klatt mentioned a number of times, Grunkenmeyer was left out to dry a number of times pretty much the whole game because the Penn State wide receivers gained no separation. It's bad. And we could see what Penn State's what their game plan was coming into this. They thought, we'll squeeze down the game, limit possessions, and go heavy Katron Allen. 19 carries, 48 yards, but of course he was so much better than that when you watched him. Nick Singleton, I was thinking of this late in the game, that it would have just been nice for all the seniors, the guys that came back this year, but in particular that dynamic duo of Nick Singleton and Katron Allen, who from a number standpoint, from just a winning standpoint, not championships, not huge wins, major accomplishments, but hey, getting deep into a college football playoff into the Final Four from a record standpoint, 2 of the greatest in the history of Penn State football. And for those guys to go out together, having made big plays, you saw the Nick Singleton 59-yard touchdown run that got Penn State within 3. And then, again, Katron Allen played well, and Singleton caught the touchdown that gave Penn State the 24-20 lead. It would have been nice for those 2 guys to kind of ride off into the sunset, even though there are 3 games left, with a huge win, but it was not to be. Fernando Mendoza, I've always said that when it comes to the Heisman Trophy, there are 3 basic factors that come into play. Number 1 is winning. He, of course, has that. Number 2 would be stats. Sometimes they're just guys are undeniable because their stats are just so incredibly gaudy. Joe Burrow, 60 touchdowns, 6 picks. We could go through history, but of course Burrow won a national championship too. So winning, stats, but number 3, where's that Heisman moment? Presto, there's the Heisman moment for Fernando Mendoza. Indiana's 10-0. They're undefeated in the Big Ten, of course. The only thing standing in the way of Indiana in the Big Ten championship game, I think we could run through this, you and I, Wisconsin and Purdue. Penn State's 3-6. They lose 27-24. And again, Curt Cignetti after the game shows you how much he cares for his team, and they pulled through for him on this one. And we'll see what happens with his Penn State team in the offseason, but we will have much time to talk about Penn State's new coach, whoever that's going to be, and their efforts to try to stay relevant in the Big Ten. For right now, it's all about 2025, and it's much about Indiana football. Leave your comments, questions down below. Right here at the Voice of College Football, join our guys on the Indiana channel, Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, live. Bradley, Alec, Indiana Football Talk is every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here at the Voice of College Football. You see me live every night for the College Football Show, which features your calls, 10 p.m. Eastern Time or post-game nightly right here at the Voice of College Football.